There's what we say, and then there's what we don't. And often it's the unspoken that holds the most power. Welcome to the Unspoken Edge, a space where hidden dynamics, quiet tensions, and unacknowledged truths are named, held, and turned into grounded action. I'm Rachel Keck, coach, facilitator, and founder of Mosaic Collaborative. I work with visionary leaders who want growth that's sustainable, relational, and real. Here, we explore what's beneath the surface, the energy under leadership, the patterns, resistance, and the truth shaping how we lead and live. In every episode, we'll name what's missing, hold what's tense, and follow the thread to what's real. Because clarity creates traction, and legacy, it's not just what you leave behind, it's how you lead today. Let's begin. Hello, everyone. Today we get to have a conversation with Kelly Crabb, who I met very recently. And we sat down outside a beautiful day. We had a bald eagle fly over us in the middle of the city, which is wild. And we had 3 to 5 monarchs traveling on their way from Canada to Mexico, which are very meaningful to Kelly. We might hear about that today. One of those meetings that you're like, okay, we're meant to be sitting here together talking, and I don't know where our relationship goes from here, but just so much alignment and energy. I'm really excited about this conversation today. Kelly, what do you want everybody to know about you, who you are, what you do?
Well, hi, everybody. I would tell you first that I'm a lover of people and life, and that my career is a part of me, that I really seek out work that aligns with who I am, but it's not how I define myself. So I am currently about ready to release my first book. That's been very exciting. And I recently started working with Amy Leslie and Perspective Consulting specialists with the Predictive Index. So life is very full right now.
New chapters, new chapters. That's fun. Okay, so let's dig into our question today, which is what is something unspoken that's been quietly shaping how you lead, decide, or connect with others? Something that once acknowledged revealed a deeper part of your legacy in the making.
This is a very intense question that I sat with for a long time. And I decided that part of the reason why maybe you asked me to chat with you specifically on October 14th is that today is my mom's birthday. And I lost her about 11 years ago to pancreatic cancer. And it is probably the largest seismic shift of my life. It has given me very different lenses through which to see everything in life. It's made me realize and understand at a soul level that time is my most essential currency and the one that I value the most. It shifts everything. It shifts how you prioritize decision making, um, only doing work that you're committed to, feeling aligned with, because we don't know how long we're here. My mom died when she was 64 and I just turned 50. So if that is at all a similar timeline I have, I want to make every day count, and I want to make every interaction I have with people count. And I want others to somehow, not that we always have to sit around and talk about my mother's death, but I want somehow to be a person who leads others to doing work that feels aligned, living a life that feels intentional and purposeful, because it would be tragic to waste it on Netflix, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it
Yeah.
would. Years means that this has become very much part of you and your life and every day. And I also think about the fact that our capacity for listening is so great. Like we are filtering our listening in so many ways. And so I'm curious for you losing your mom so early and having that impact you and kind of evolve over the last 11 years. What Like, give me how are you listening different? Like, I get the big things of like, yeah, time really matters. This could be me. Let
Uh-huh.
me make good decisions. Let me be more intentional. Probably there's probably a lot of intention.
Uh-huh.
But what is the impact? Like, what does that look like? Like, what is it?
I mean, part of it is you think what's going to be left when I'm gone, right? Like what am I leaving behind? And I can look at my mom's life and just see so much of her hospitality, her generosity, her zest for life, her servant heart, her, I mean, I could rattle off 1,000 different things. She was a working woman. She had children. She got a master's degree while she was working and raising babies. This woman was a force to be reckoned with. And so as I look back on who she was and how her love and life has shaped me, I want to know, how am I living a life that's going to shape others? You know, what kind of impact am I leaving on people? How am I inspiring people to live more abundant, full lives? And there's just so many voices in the world that lead people to grinding out in a machine, you know, productive, quantifiable results of their time. And I know that work is important. I'm not at all saying it's not, but the work has to go beyond the paycheck, you know? I mean, for me, it does.
I was fortunate enough to be with my mother-in-law when she passed, and I still remember to this day the feeling of walking out into the world after that, and it's like you have different eyes, like
Uh-huh.
like the air feels different, and I mean, everything does feel different, and it's almost like you lifted your eyes up and you're now looking around instead of, like, being in the matrix and in the grind, you're now seeing something bigger. I want
Right.
I'm curious from your perspective, how do we bring that into our work? How do we make either space or practice ritual? How do we actually bring that sort of perspective into our work?
When I think about leadership, I think about people first. I really believe that placing people first leads to uh, success. Cart before the horse kind of thing, right? Like I need to make sure that caring for the people who are part of the process as human beings. And as I do that, the natural result is going to be somebody who's more engaged in the work because we're not just being seen as a like a I don't know, a gear on the wheel, right? Um, and if I'm looking at a person and seeing that they're maybe not aligned in what they're doing, they're not, it's not bringing them joy, it's sucking the life out of them, I'm going to want to ask them, what would be work that you would find meaningful? Um, this is part of my work with the predictive index, understanding people's drivers and the things that lead them to feeling most in their thrive zone. Um, I want people to live in that place and I want that for them. And hopefully that means as a part of the organization I'm with, but maybe it means it's a different position in an organization, or maybe it means taking certain tasks off their desks so that somebody else can do them, who might actually also find more alignment with those tasks that have been sitting on somebody else's desk. Maybe I'm going to care about that person enough to help them find the next right thing for them, because ultimately, somebody who's not aligned in what they're doing isn't bringing as much to the table as somebody else who would be could. And so it serves both people well to find out life is too short for a human being and for an organization to have people doing work that they don't have passion and joy for. And being brave enough to ask those questions is part of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love, effective and efficient work a lot, and sometimes we think we can get there with process and structure, which we can't. That's too static. We need something more dynamic, for alignment, for engagement. We need something that is way more dynamic than what we try to create to be effective and efficient. Work is not super designed anymore for family or for life, well, or families. We found that in COVID. That was a big problem with COVID. Like, oh my God, I this person has a life. And so we have to deal with it. It's, when you lose a parent or you lose a child or you have a divorce or you get sick, our workplaces are not really set up for that. Like 3 to 5
Right.
days of bereavement
Right.
or 2 weeks, 3 weeks, maybe you get 5 weeks of PTO because 'cause you've been there a while, but it's not designed for life.
No, it's not.
What
And,
was it
and it,
back then? How did you navigate that sort of shift in your life
yeah.
with the rest of life?
So I got married when I was 38 and got a package deal out of it. I had a husband and two kids. They were 6 and 11 when we got married. And my mom was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer 5 months after I got married and then died 5 days after our first anniversary. So not only was I working, I was a new wife, I was a new stepmom. And I'm grateful that during that season of my life, I was self employed. However, I had clients who were counting on me. And so thankfully, several of them were very patient and understanding. Um, I found work at times to be a healthy escape because you can only sit in grief so long. Um, and so there were times that work was just what I needed to do to give my soul a break. Um, but there were also kids to be fed and, you know, catch to be played in the front yard and cookies to bake and Legos to build and so life thankfully sometimes keeps moving forward because it's a grace in a sense that keeps you moving. Um, Otherwise you would just spiral. Grief is a really deep hole to be in. I'm very thankful I didn't have a corporate job that somebody was expecting me to show up and be present fully 8 to 5. Um, but having gone through that, I love talking to people about um, how to serve people going through that season so that, and I mean, you don't want a zombie sitting at their desk just like clicking at a keyboard, not getting anything done. They actually might at 10 o'clock at night come alive with like their brain on, working on all cylinders and have something to offer then. And so, how do you navigate that season with somebody? It's obviously different for everybody.
What, will you share a little bit about the monarchs?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I'm wearing a necklace today that I found in my mom's jewelry box when she died, and I have had it tucked away. I didn't even completely remember that I had it, and I found it last week, and I'm wearing it today in honor of her. I don't know what to exactly make of this whole deal, but shortly after she passed away, butterflies started appearing in my life in very unusual ways, in very specific times. And so I've just chosen to consider it a gift. Um, I was sitting out early before we were going to chat today in my garden that I somewhat intentionally built because I wanted monarchs to come and be around me all the time. And they're migrating right now. So there are lots of extra monarchs, which we saw at our coffee and I saw just today. Um, I just think it's a really special, significant reminder to me that uh, love shows up in different ways, right? It's not removed from your life after someone passes away. I love the monarch itself as a reminder that I want to be a pollinator. I want to spread beauty. I want to help things bloom. I want to bring life where there might not have been life otherwise. I want to be a person who's open to transformation, and I want my life to take on different forms in different seasons. And so monarchs are just really special to me. We also happened to travel down to Mexico last year to see them all in central Mexico where they migrate to. And that was an otherworldly experience. I feel like I can't put adequate words to it, but standing in the presence of millions of butterflies is something I am glad I've experienced.
That
Yeah.
is amazing. I want to talk a little bit about your book. But before we do that, I just thinking about this idea that we do have different seasons and almost different, I mean, different part lifetimes within our lifetime.
Hmm.
And this turning 50, I was talking actually to a friend that also turned 50 this year, and just how there is something about this shift um in into 50 that's wonderful. I was looking forward to it, but it feels like, it definitely feels like a deep shift of, like,
Yeah.
speaking of perspective and how I see the world, how I wanna show up in the world, how I am in myself.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just turned 50 as well. I think there's a lot of people who mark 50 as the second half of their life. Having lost my mom at 64, I felt that a long time ago. And I
Mhm.
sure hope that I have a lot more years than 14. My long time hope has been that I will have more years with the love of my life than I had without him because I had to wait so long for him to show up. So that would make me at least 76. This is what I'm hoping for. I also think, other than just the sheer question of, am I in the second half of my life and what do I want to do with this? It is hindsight. You've lived so much life that you can see through different lenses. You can understand what's really most important. You don't sweat the small stuff as much anymore. You have more empathy and compassion. And I've run out of F's to give at this point in my life. Like, they are long gone.
Yeah.
And so, do I still feel passionately about things? Yes. But I also have, um, I've gotten to a place where I know where to put my passion. I'm not going to die on every mountaintop, and I'm not going to make everything essential. And I don't think I was able to understand that fully the way that I can now. So
Which
it's an interesting.
which is wisdom.
Yeah.
So, speaking of your book,
Yeah.
tell me more about your book. What was the
Yeah.
inspiration, the process?
Well, here I am, talking about being old and having wisdom and perspective. And I've jokingly said I've picked up a bunch of granny hobbies, gardening being one of them. I wrote a book. I'm going to backtrack just a little bit. I have come to realize that this is my vision statement for my life. I want my life to be an endless pursuit of curiosity, especially knowing that life is short. I want to only give my time to things that are sparking curiosity in me. So sometimes that's redesigning a vintage A-frame, which my husband and I did at one point. Sometimes that's learning how to make sourdough bread like everybody did during 2020. And for me, the last several years, it's been growing cut flowers. And I write in my book, which I also think is a curiosity. What would it look like to sit down and write a book? Um, all I share how I specifically got into it because I'm able, with hindsight, to look back and say, how did this passion develop? Or where did this interest first spark? And then I share lots of things about the mistakes I made and the lessons I learned and how underqualified I was to launch in like I did, and yet how much I grew as a human in the process. It's basically a big call to action for people to stop sitting on the sidelines of their life and stop ignoring the things that are pulling at them internally, and to say, you got to go for this. Stop waiting. Stop just zoning out in front of your TV or scrolling yourself through another evening. Find a way to ignite that passion that's in you for a reason. And it's kind of part memoir, part pep talk to get people to pursue the things that their hearts are stirring towards.
I love your vision statement for your life. I love it. The endless pursuit of curiosity. I wonder what you feel like are the biggest barriers
But yeah,
to
to
that?
pursuing
Yeah.
curiosity.
Yeah.
Oh. I'm going to just reveal all the inside nuggets in my book. I think people are deathly afraid of failure. They don't want to start something until they know they're going to do it well and that they're going to exceed. That is really sad because I think the mess that you find in being a new beginner and starting something is some of the most divine, sacred ground we find ourselves standing in life. And we, especially in this day and age of kind of over stylized worlds and sharing our lives to the public in this curated way, we think if we're going to fail, it's not worthy. And that's tragic because there's so much you learn in your mistakes. That failure is a great teacher in life. And I mean, failure on every level, but I'm going to even say not helping something germinate in my garden, right? Like you can sit back and I at least can think about that for hours. What does that have to teach me about being ready to germinate in my life? And I also think women specifically play a role of martyr. They put their needs on the back burner and they want to make sure everybody else is taken care of before they take care of themselves. And I know that there's a lot of reasons for that. And I have empathy and compassion for a lot of it. But I'm also here to say it's time. It's time for you to find time for yourself. They don't think they're worth it. There is a worthiness issue at the core of almost all of it. And however that got hardwired into people, again, so much empathy and compassion, right? Their life and trauma and all sorts of things write a story that we sometimes have a hard time getting out of or rewriting in different ways. But that very first brave step is the thing that gets you going in the direction out of the story that you don't like being in.
It takes a lot of courage to take the first step of creating space for ourselves. Even before that first step, what happens is we're getting a little more regulated and less
Uh-huh.
reactive. And sometimes it's a physical thing. Like, sometimes something happens with us physically where we're like, "Oh crap, I need to like take care of myself a little better," which then your nervous system gets a little more regulated so you can now be a little more curious. I can ask because curiosity requires space and
Mhm.
like, some regulation in your body. Otherwise, you can't really be curious.
Yep.
And
Yep.
so, yeah, whether you have bird children or not bird children, we're nurturers, like, and nurturing the people around us, nurturing space around us, nurturing gardens, like, we are nurturers and tenders of things.
Yep.
And so there's this balance point, are you overgiving, over-efforting, you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
over-complying?
Afraid to, yeah. People are afraid to ask those questions because they're afraid it's going to come across sounding selfish. And heaven forbid we be selfish. We live in a world that really values productivity. Quantifying your time, being able to justify every purchase, every hour spent, how'd you spend your day? Um, a lot of times people see pursuits of curiosity as frivolous, as not necessary, but those are the things that spark in us such joy that can carry us through all sorts of other things. The rhythms of life can get so rote and boring, like laundry and cooking and working. We have to find ways to plug into the thing that sparks us into being who we were made to be. And yes, we're made to be moms. Yes, we're made to be employees. Yes, we're made to be partners. We're also destined for joy, and we're supposed to find it.
Mhm.
So,
Well, the outcomes from that are innovation and progress
uh-huh, uh-huh.
um, our idea of work, when we say work generally in this country, it's a very masculine design. We
Yeah,
don't even factor in the natural rhythms of bodies in work. It's a very masculine, industrial revolution driven um, description of work. It's shifting to have some engagement, to have innovation. You do have to
yeah,
have space to have joy, and these things are valuable. but we do still lean towards quantifying, like you're saying, quantifying. Was it a productive day? Did you get enough done?
Yeah. And I'm not saying don't be productive at work. That is not at all my message to the world here.
Yeah.
It is, you know, we're humans first. I did not set out to write a book. I didn't say to myself, I'm going to build a garden and I'm going to spend 3 years growing it so that I can write a book. It was very much the byproduct of pursuing curiosity and sitting in these moments of peace and quiet and watching beauty that grew somewhat with me, being a co-creator in it and also being there to watch it happen and having created enough margin to help, you know, uh, and it's just incredible to me that from that, I found myself wanting to write and share some of the things that I learned. That kind of ripple effect of following your heart has a way of not only leading you to the next right thing and to the next discovery, but also inspiring the people around you to do the same thing. Beauty begets beauty, curiosity begets curiosity, courage begets courage. And the more we can help each other tap into kind of the inner core of who we are, the more we can show up fully to the regular, real duties of our life, soccer practice and grocery shopping and showing up at work. If you show up with your cup full from doing the things that light you up inside, you're going to be a better employee.
I want to reflect to you that what I feel like is your true legacy is the moments of peace and quiet. It's the moments of co-creating beauty and space. That's the legacy. The book and the outcomes, the outflow from that are how you're sharing your legacy. I think we kind of sometimes think that the outflow or the outcomes are the legacy, but to me, being willing to follow the curiosities is much more legacy than what it's created.
Mm,
So I'm grateful. I'm grateful for you. I'm grateful for the ripples.
yeah, think so. I mean, I
How can people find you if they want to find the book or they want to connect with you? What's the best way?
first and foremost to Instagram right now. So my Instagram handle is I am Kelly Crabb with two B's. And I am starting to make a little bit of a presence on LinkedIn as I grow my productive index business and my consulting business. And so you can find me there under Kelly Jackson Crabb. My book launches on November 6th. That's available on Amazon. It's called Beyond the Bloom: Life Lessons from the Misadventures of a Beginner Gardener. You do not have to be somebody who gardens or likes flowers to read the book. I've tried to make it full of life stories and reflections on life and little takeaways, hopefully, for everyone.
I love it. Thank you for having this conversation.
Well, thanks for asking me, Rachel.
One more thing. What was your mom's name?
My mom's name was Susan.
Oh, Susan.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Susan. Our guests bring such clarity and depth. If you want to explore more of their work, you'll find links in the show notes. And thank you, listener, for joining me on the Unspoken Edge, the place where we name what's missing so you can lead from what matters. If something resonated with you today, share this episode with a friend or a colleague. Leave a review or subscribe so you don't miss what's next. And if you're navigating unseen tensions in your leadership or culture, let's connect. You'll find me at mosaiccollaborative.com, because legacy isn't a final chapter. It's what you live into, one conversation at a time.